In this lesson, we're going to take a look at some of the default spanning tree commands for the Nexus 5548. We're going to investigate how spanning tree is currently set up, which ports are being blocked, which ones are root ports, and which ones are forwarding. We'll also take a look at some of the other parameters that we can investigate in our spanning tree setup. So let's get started. Here we are on our Nexus 5548. The first most basic command we can do is a show spanning tree. I abbreviated the show command with sh. Now when I run this command, it's going to show me the spanning tree configuration for each VLAN on this device. I can see right away that the spanning tree protocol that I'm running by default is Rapid Spanning Tree. It appears also that this bridge is the root for VLAN 999. Now, if this bridge was not the root, let's go ahead and go over to our other switch, to our show spanning tree. You would see different information in the top two categories. So the top category identifies the root bridge information. It says that there is another bridge that is the root with a MAC address ending in 69C1, and that it's got a cost of 2 through port channel 100 to get to the root. And that would be because the default cost for 10 gigabit Ethernet is 2. You can see that in the second group of information, it lists our bridge ID in priority and our MAC address. And that's how I could very easily tell that because those MAC addresses didn't match, that another bridge was the root. Also, it would say that this bridge is the root. It's also very interesting if you take a look at the interfaces. On these interfaces, because my root cost is 2 through port channel 100, I'm showing port channel 100 as my root port. My other two ports, Ethernet 1/17 and Ethernet 1/18, are forwarding ports. Let's take a look back at the root. If I look at that same information on the root, all of my ports are designated, and that is because there are no root ports on a root bridge. Now because I'm the root for VLAN 999 as well, I can see that I'm designated and forwarding on all ports. When I go back to Nexus 5548B, I can see that in fact I have a root port again, which is port channel 100, my best cost back to the root, and Ethernet 11 is designated and blocking. So spanning tree must have detected a loop in the topology and disabled Ethernet 11. Let's go back to 5548A. In order to change any information for spanning tree, I have to first go into the global configuration mode by typing configure terminal. Sometimes people shorten this command by just typing config t. Now, if I take a look at my spanning tree commands that I have available to me, I have quite a few. The first command I have, which is spanning tree bridge assurance, configures bridge assurance for all of my ports globally. The second command that I'm interested in would be spanning tree mode. Here is where I configure spanning tree to run in either multiple spanning tree or rapid PVST, which is the default mode. Finally, another useful command, and one that is essential for a network administrator, is the spanning tree priority command. We use this command by typing spanning tree, the VLANs that we want to affect, which in this case we can highlight a range, and then we can change the priority, or we can simply specify that we want this switch to be the root. If we change the priority, we have to specify a new priority value, and it has to be in increments of 4096. If I try to specify a priority of 2, it's going to come back and say that's not allowed. You have to specify one of these numbers. I can also not specify a priority command and just say that I want this bridge to be the root. I have two options once I do that. Normally you have a primary route and a secondary route in case of a failure. So I can specify whether or not I want this bridge to be the primary route or the secondary route. As you can see, this command makes it very easy to configure primary and secondary routes in your environment. Please join me for our next lesson, Configuring MSTP.